When teams across the country need custom apparel that looks sharp, feels great, and shows off team pride, they call Hatch and Custom Community. From scholastic programs to collegiate athletics, and even local businesses wanting branded apparel that actually gets noticed, Michael and his team deliver quality, creativity, and service that goes full tilt. See what I did there? So if they're helping winning teams stand out, why not yours? For custom apparel with championship level results, go to customcommunity.com. This is the Full Tilt Podcast with Hatch.
My man, JohnMark Bentley.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
What's happening? Camp, and more camp.
Summers and Boone.
Yes, sir. I mean, I tell you what, for those that people don't know, now you guys have, I know it's one of the largest, but is it the largest camp?
I think from everything I've heard is that we have the largest team camps in the country. Mm-hmm. You know, we pump out about 1,500 campers over the course of 2 different camps. Mm-hmm. And it takes up a big chunk of our summer, but it's been very successful, and it's been a big part of our program. And I attribute a lot of our success to the things that we've been able to do because of the camp and, and the revenue generated from the camp.
Yeah, kind of go into that a little bit, because that's I think that's a really unique. I think it's just a really unique story in general, because obviously at the Division I level, there's only 78 teams now. I mean, it's not a whole lot. So,
sure.
And not all of them are fundraising their own money, like to this extent.
Sure. Well, I think, first of all, the camp system here at Appalachian State, I think it was the first, big team camps across the country. And that was long before I came to ASU. Back in the early 2000s, they had, close to 2,800 campers in the course of a summer. They had 4 team camp sessions. And, we've managed to continue to have a very successful camp. I think the camp business has gotten a lot more spread out, and there's a lot more satellite camps. So there's not as many team camps at universities now, maybe as there were, or there's a lot more now than there were back in the the early 2000s. Because I think people started catching on and seeing it as a way to generate revenue and bring things to your campus and potential students and that kind of thing. And, it's always been since the early 2000s, it's been a big deal here at Appalachian State. And, the things that we're able to do with the proceeds from that camp, we couldn't do it without the camp. I mean, it goes back into our operating budget, our general operating budget. Our third assistant is completely funded through camps, coaches' stipends, training partners, facility upgrades. I mean, you name it. We've used those proceeds for a lot of different areas and a lot of different needs. But now we've got we do 2 team camps, 6 camps total with our prospect camp, youth camp. This year we're having our first ever girls camp.
Oh, okay.
And it'll kick off on Friday. This camp, this current team camp we're doing right now, it will end tomorrow morning after the tournament. And then those team campers check out, and then Friday at noon we got our first girls camp checking in. And I think right now we're looking at about 115 girls that are signed up for our first ever girls camp, and we're going to try to run it very similar to our team camp, where we build teams, have competition, have technique, and try to really build that team concept for the women as well. And this is the first year, so we're hopeful to grow that into 200 or 300 girls a summer. But I guess just happy to be over 100 our first year.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I'm just with the growth of women's wrestling in general. I mean, I can't help it. I'm sure it can't help but grow. I mean, it's crazy how that sport's just booming.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is a potential. The potential is there, and I think there's a market for it now because there are a lot of girls wrestling across the United States now. Most high schools, if they don't have a full team, they at least have 2 or 3 girls that are wrestling in the girls division. So, and that's been more recent, maybe in the last 5 years. So I do think there's a market for it. I do think if we do it right and have the same, concepts and principles that have made our team camps successful, I do think that camp will grow, and I fully expect it to be a really good-sized girls camp here in the next few years.
Well, I tell you what, the way you guys run it here, because I've been to a lot of camps, whether I'm when I was coaching high school and bringing my kids to camps or working camps at the different universities that I've worked at. And this is probably the best well-oiled machine I've been around. I mean, I think I've been working this for the last 5 years. I think it has.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure to work it. I love working it. I really do. The way everything's structured. And it's just, for somebody that's been in the camp world, it's really cool to see just the overall flow of it. It's just outstanding.
Well, I think our camp is a little bit different, and that's probably why it's the biggest team camp. I mean, we do some things that are very unique to this camp as far as building teams and creating different divisions for different levels. But I also think like just the structure of this camp. I mean, we're always on time. It's very organized, and every team knows where they're going, when they're going, what time it starts. And, in the camps that I have experienced outside of this camp, that's the one thing I would say that is very different.
Right.
Most camps that I have attended as an athlete or as a young coach, I had a high school team as well, coached high school for a little bit. They were always very disorganized, and it was kind of just fly by the seat of your pants. You never knew where you're going. And here at App, our camps are very organized, and I think that the coaches and the teams really like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And every time, it's like I think this is either my fifth or sixth year in a row, working as a clinician for you, and I see the same coaches every year, which is great because I think that's the biggest testament of your product. If they keep coming back and it's hard for them to leave, that's when you have a great product.
Yeah, I think for us, just in continuing to build this camp, because, there's some coaches that retire that have been to our camps for 20 years or so, and then they get replaced by another coach that maybe wrestled at another university, so you lose teams here and there because of those kind of things. So we're constantly trying to continue building the camp and building new relationships, because some of the old relationships now are starting to retire or whatever, get out of coaching. And so we're constantly trying to build those relationships and continue building the camp, and I think that's one of the things. I think if we just get them to come to the camp one time, typically they always come back. There's very few teams that leave here and be like, we didn't have a good experience and we're going to go somewhere else. And I've had a lot of teams that will take a break from our camp. Maybe they've been to our camp for 4 or 5 years and they're like, Coach, I think I'm just going to I'm going to take one summer off and we're going to go somewhere else, just because a lot of these kids have never been to another camp. And they always come back and be like, man, I forgot how well this is ran compared to other universities. And I've got a lot of that. Yeah. We'll have coaches that have actually went and tried other camps, and they always come back and say, like, it's just not the same. We don't have the organization and the team building, and there's just so many little intricacies that our camp does that I think the coaches really benefit from, and they like it a lot.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, when we were talking about the camps, is the relationship building. And I think that's one of the things that, I'm a student of just really wrestling and just coaches in general and how people, but I think one of the things I'm a student of interaction. And that's one of the things that I've really noticed about you, just knowing it. I've been friends with you for, I don't know what, it's a long time, 15 years.
15, 20 years.
We started to become friends when we were coaching against each other.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But, when you know a great person, you know a great person, and and it didn't matter to me if you're at App State or I don't really give a shit, it didn't matter. But you've always been really, really, really good at building relationships. I notice, I just see how you interact with the coaches here, and it's no wonder why they keep coming back. One, because it's a great product, but at the same time, it's just, the way you develop relationships, I think, is really, really one of your strong points. Do you think, does that come with a lot of those relationships? Did they come to the fact that you're a North Carolina boy and that you came through and they kind of can relate to that a little bit? I know it's a lot about your personality, but obviously growing up Avery County here in North Carolina.
Yeah, about 45 minutes away.
You've already, it's been years and years of relationships here built up, I think, huh?
Yeah, I do think that there's probably some truth to that. But, you look at this camp here and there's a lot of out-of-state teams here.
Yeah,
and,
true.
I had one coach last night. I was actually out at the concession stand, which my daughter's working the concession stand now. My kids are getting old enough to work the camp, and I run into him, and he's like, "Is that your daughter?" And we get in a conversation. He's like, "I was just telling her that, I see you at the Georgia State tournament every year, and you're out there hustling, and I think it's about building those relationships, and every coach, what I've learned is first of all, I respect what high school coaches do a lot, because I've been a high school coach and I know how hard it is. And there's some of the best coaches in the country are not the college coaches. Some of the best coaches in the country are high school coaches. Agreed. They take a wrestler that knows very little and teach them all those things that can make them a successful wrestler. So I've seen that. I respect that. And so when I go to a state tournament, I look and can see a coach and have a conversation with them, and I can relate to what they're doing because I've done it. Mm-hmm. And I also respect them a lot. And I learned some of the drills that are the best drills that I've learned as a coach. I actually learned from a high school coach in North Carolina, a longtime legend. It's in the Hall of Fame, Jerry Winterton.
Really?
One of the greatest coaches out there. I mean, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
which school?
He was at Cary High School.
Okay.
And they won numerous state
powerhouse.
championships and nationally ranked.
Yeah.
And he had a ton of Division I college wrestlers he produced. And Jerry was just very methodical in how he did things. And I actually worked a couple of these camps as a college kid. Mm-hmm. And I would come back and I worked a couple of App State camps as a clinician and got to know Jerry through that. And just being around him and learning and watching. I mean, I picked up a lot of drills and things from Jerry that I used in my high school program. And then I ended up, we still use them today in our college program. So I really respect what the high school coaches do. And, I always feel like those relationships are very important. And, in the recruiting game as well, like those coaches play a big role in getting those top recruits and feeding kids into your program. And, I can go to the state tournament, and when I walk in the door, I don't think it's as beneficial to like sit in the stands and look at brackets and videos. You go talk to the coaches and you have relationships with the coaches. They're going to point out to you the kids that you need to watch and the best kids in the tournament. And that's kind of what I think that's why those relationships are so important. And then obviously on the back end of it, it really helps our camps and the support system we have with our camps. But anywhere I go, at these tournaments or anywhere when you're around wrestling people, there's a lot of great relationships that are built, and it's been great.
Yeah. So your camps, like I said, what do you think percentage-wise of your budget you think you're giving back out of your camp money? I mean, because it's pretty considerable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say every year we probably put back toward our program about $100,000 or more.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's why they're really important.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress on them because
absolutely.
a lot of things we have that we kind of have become dependent on. If camps go away, like that one year, I think the only year I haven't had a third assistant or a volunteer assistant since I became the head coach was the year after COVID when we had to cancel all our camps.
Wow.
And that really hurt us a lot.
Yeah.
And that also made me thankful.
Yeah.
When camps came back, I mean, you kind of can take it for granted a little bit. And then COVID happened and we had to cancel our camps one summer. The next summer, there was a lot of stipulations and things, and they were small the next year, and we've kind of grown them back a little bit. But there's, it's not always guaranteed, and it's about building those relationships and keeping them strong. And our programs become so dependent upon it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We do a lot of things a lot of the renovations we've done and the travel we do, and our guys, we build a schedule that gets our guys ready for the national tournament. And I'm not sure we would be able to do that without the extra money we raise.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and when you talk about bigger programs, I mean, a lot of that money just doesn't. It just it's a camp. The coaches just they get some extra income off it.
Sure.
Or they're RTC athletes or whatever the case may be. Whereas here, the programs really dependent upon it.
Sure.
The success of the program. So
which is scary.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
scary. Yeah, absolutely.
In this day and age of the arms race, it's a lot of stress because we depend so much on these camps.
Yeah.
It's not just like you said, padding our salaries a little bit or making a little extra income. I mean, it's the lifeblood of continuing to do what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. We hit about your started to touch a little bit about your North Carolina roots. I mean, you're born and bred here in North Carolina. Talk about a little bit about how you get started in the sport and how wrestling kind of grabbed a hold of you, because you've been here. You've been a staple of North Carolina wrestling for basically ever, huh?
Well, so it's weird because in my hometown, which is Avery County, and it's a stone throw away from Boone. Really? I grew up about 45 minutes from here. My mom is a graduate of Appalachian State. My brother wrestled and is a graduate of Appalachian State. But, dating back to when I was a sixth grader, 12 years old, didn't have any experience in wrestling. Played all sports growing up, football, baseball, whatever. And my brother, who's on the high school wrestling team, he comes home that evening. There was no middle school team. We had no clubs in Avery County. But my brother's on the high school team, and he comes home that day, and he's like, Mom, he's like, we've got a 103 pounder that weighs like 80 some pounds, and he doesn't have anybody small enough to wrestle. He's like, so JohnMark needs to start coming to wrestling practice so he can wrestle with this kid. And that's just how it happened. So then I started catching the bus from the elementary school to the high school and practicing with the high school. And the funny thing about that is, my brother ended up wrestling here at Appalachian State, but the kid that I went and worked out with, the 103 pounder, he's become a lifelong one of my best friends, Tommy Reese.
Really?
Yeah. And so in the full circle now, we've been friends forever. And we only got to know each other because we were workout partners. And so as like a sixth grader, I worked out with him all through the high school season. I didn't have any matches because we didn't have a middle school team. We didn't know anything about it. And I remember he was maybe a junior in high school, and I remember coming to this camp with Tommy. Really? I would go stay with him, and we came to this camp as like I was a rising seventh grader. He was a high school kid. And then we've become lifelong friends, still really close. And his son is actually on my team now. Grant Reese was a couple-time state champion.
No kidding.
Yeah. So full circle. And, it's like my brother helps, like on the first day of this camp, my brother and his wife help with the building of the teams. And it's just funny, all the relationships and that have been built over the years now, kind of helping support this camp, and the relationships like, crazy story how I started wrestling. And every time I get an assistant coach that comes in or whatever, and we'll kind of on a bus ride or somewhere, we'll talk about kind of how we got into wrestling. And my story is so different than anyone I know that is, used this, took the sport of wrestling as a career. Yeah. I didn't have wrestle on a middle school team. We didn't have a middle school team. There was no club. I think I wrestled for maybe a year and a half when I never wrestled a match because there was nowhere to wrestle. Wow. And so my first competition, my dad.
Yeah, because no offense, I hate to jump in here, but Avery County, North Carolina sounds like it's really small.
It is small. It's very small. It's a 1A school.
You just referred to it as a stone's throw from here. I mean, that's something that's right. Super small town North Carolina.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that you didn't have any matches for a year and a half?
Yeah, it was like a year and a half. I was just a workout partner for Tommy.
Wow.
And kind of got into it though, and I liked it, and was having a fair amount of success. And the coach at the time, Hank Harden, who's an alumni here at App, and he was an assistant coach here at App, he started kind of like, working and like, hey, this kid's got some potential. We need to keep this kid around. And so I was just like one of the high school guys. I was leaving elementary school, riding the bus to the high school, practicing. I probably saw a lot of things and heard a lot of things that a sixth grader shouldn't hear or see. But that's kind of how I started wrestling. And then I think my dad, and it did help that my older brother was kind of getting into the sport. So, he kind of helped my parents who knew nothing about sport wrestling. Like, hey, we need to probably get him to some camps and he needs to start wrestling. And I think my first tournament, my brother, I think he might have convinced my mom and dad to send me to the Southeast Regionals. And I think at the time it was in North Carolina. And I think that might have been going into my 7th grade year. And then I came here to camp, wrestled some matches. And that's all I did was wrestle like freestyle, Southeast Regionals, and maybe the state tournament until I got pretty much in high school. Yeah, I mean, it was very weird, but I was wrestling I did come to the camps in the summer, and so I was wrestling. I remember my high school coach, I was a 7th grader, and he brought me here, and he's like, puts me in the high school Division 1. I didn't know any different. I was just wrestling, and I had a lot of success and that kind of thing, and it's just very different than how kids start now. There's so many opportunities in wrestling and clubs and teams, and that's not how I started. Yeah, I started being somebody's workout partner, and it just kind of fell into place.
So Tommy was the workout partner.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember your first butt whooping when it came?
Yeah.
And did Tommy give it to you?
Well, a lot of the high school guys would kind of, would grab me and beat. I tell people this a lot, and I think this is the thing that I had to learn how to survive before I learned how to win. Yeah. And I'm wrestling high school kids as a 6th grader, and they're whipping my tail, and I have to learn how to survive and fight off my back, and and so that was kind of how I started in the sport. It was like sink or swim.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, okay, I learn a few moves, wrestle against the other couple of rookies, and no, I'm wrestling against high school kids to start with, and I think it made me tougher, and I don't know, it's very different, kind of looking at how I grew in the sport compared to kids are now. My son, for instance, like it just, the opportunities weren't there, but the people around me, did a great job of, finding out and getting me more opportunities. And I don't know, I wouldn't trade my journey for anything, because I've learned a lot, and I think it's probably made me more resilient. It's made me a better coach. It also makes you appreciate the small things, I mean,
True.
Like, you don't have to have a lot in the sport to be good. That's one thing I'm convinced of.
Yeah. Do you remember your first tournament, your first competition?
I do not remember. I remember my first competition, and this is so it might have been my 7th grade year, and my brother is wrestling at some tri-meet 3 hours away, and my parents load up and we go to this tournament, or we go to this tri-meet, and I remember when I get there with my parents, the guy Hank Harden, who's my high school coach, who's coaching at the time, he comes up in the stands and he tells my parents, he's like, hey, there's a kid from this team. There's his dad's the coach, and he wants to know if they want to wrestle an exhibition. So I actually come out of stands. I don't have any workout clothes. I think I wrestled in a pair of they found me somebody's singlet, and I think I wore a pair of tennis shoes, and I wrestled this kid in an exhibition. I think he weighed like 30 pounds more than me or something. I weighed like 80 pounds. He was like 120 or something. Yeah. And it was just funny. That's how I started. But I do remember that competition. And
how'd you do?
I won.
Did you?
I won.
All right.
Yeah. But it's funny because, I don't know. I'm sure it wasn't pretty to watch. But I knew how to scrap, and I knew how to just fight and defend myself. So.
That's funny. Yeah. So now, as soon as you hit the high school days, so that's when things started really kind of compounding for you.
Yeah, and I thought I think everybody knew in my circle, because the circle was a lot smaller then. You didn't have social media. Nobody had cell phones, and nobody really knew about me. But like going into my freshman year, I kind of thought like, it was kind of, they were talking about me like amongst the high school there, and like, hey, this kid could win a state title as a freshman. And I didn't really think that was not really necessarily the goal, but I did think I was going to be competitive, because Tommy, my buddy, was a state champion his senior year.
Oh, okay.
And him and I were, we were battling as when I was a 7th grader. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, I think I'll be right there in the mix. And my 8th grade summer, I went from 95 pounds to like 125 in one summer.
Oh, wow.
So everybody thought I was going to come in as a 103 pounder. I ended up being a 119 pounder. Yeah. And, I think the first tournament I went to, I'm pretty sure I was the 8th seed. It was a little small tournament, 8 wrestlers. And they seeded me 8th. So I had the number 1 seed first round. And then that coach was so upset because I beat the kid first match. But it's just very different, very different times. And just the sports evolved so much. And the opportunities that kids have now is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But you finished your high school career undefeated.
That's right.
Yeah, 4-time state champ, undefeated. So what was it like during the, I guess your whole transition from like literally not really knowing much from a freshman in high school all the way through just in general, just wrestling at the high school level and getting through, and then really having kind of have a bullseye in your back for the next 4 years. Remember? Yeah,
I don't even think that it dawned on me. Yeah. My freshman year, I was just wrestling, and I think it might have been just a blessing that I was very young in the sport. I didn't really know the world outside of kind of my world. Right. And so I thought I was going to be competitive. I thought I could hold my own. I think having to sink or swim when I got into the sport, I think probably benefited me, because I really wasn't intimidated by anybody. I've been wrestling high school kids since I was a 12-year-old. Sure. And I think that might have benefited me, but I really didn't I won the state championship my freshman year in dramatic fashion. I'd wrestled the kid 3 times. I ended up beating this kid it was an overtime takedown, very dramatic. but I really wasn't like I didn't really feel any pressure till maybe my senior year, like right before, and then it kind of dawned on me that, wow, okay, then I kind of felt more like I had a target on my back or whatever. But, I think I was probably a little naive and ignorant to this, whatever was going on outside, just because I didn't know any better. Now kids know so much because there's social media. They know every good kid that within a 30-mile radius of any town, they know who the good kid is in their weight class. And it's almost too information. It's almost an information overload.
Yeah.
And I try to really work on that with my own athletes, which I'm fighting years of them following kids on social media and looking at brackets. And with my own son, I'm like, I don't care what this kid's name. I don't care what his track record. You don't focus on that. Like you just focus on take care of yourself and try to instill that in him. But those are things I didn't have to worry about.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody because there was no information.
Definitely.
So it was very different.
So now, like I said, you had real successful high school career. You had to get outside the state lines and compete, obviously, at the regional and national level. And I know, just in being a coach at a club in Tennessee, and I actually like I said, I grew up in Iowa, and I was there for coaching after I graduated in Iowa. So I was there a total of about 28, 29 years total. So I know, like, from a wrestling-rich area like Iowa, kind of how the dynamics works. And then I moved to Florida. Not quite a traditional state. Now I'm in Tennessee, not a traditional wrestling state. I know when we go outside of the state lines of Tennessee, we always got a little chip on our shoulder to kind of prove ourselves. Did you kind of feel like that? Like, okay, I'm a North Carolina kid, and the people are going to be overlooking me when I go to regionals. Going to look, especially when I go to nationals. They're going to look over me, and I'll show them. I mean, what was kind of your mindset when you kind of coming up through the roots of a non-traditional state?
Yeah, I kind of found that to be the case as I started getting into it. I mean, like I mentioned, I didn't really have a great perspective of what wrestling was on a national level. And my freshman year, my high school coach was like, hey, well, you need to get out of the state of North Carolina. I won the state title. He's like, hey, we got to start going and wrestling at, these national events. And I think I missed the qualifier or something for the cadet team. So there was an opening on the junior team. So my coach signs me up in my freshman year. I go wrestle at Fargo for juniors, and I think I went like 1-2.
Yeah.
And, it was an eye-opening experience. Like, well, this is a bigger world than, and I kind of got it handed to me a little bit, And then from that point forward, it was, I think that summer as well, my high school coach signed me up for the intensive camp at Iowa.
Oh, okay.
And you might have even been there. This was in this would have been the summer of 94.
I was there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're probably working the camp I'm at. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. So
thanks for bringing the age thing up.
Yeah, so
who was your coach back then? Who was the coach? You remember who coached in the camp?
Terry Brands was the coach.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
he was the one. They had like your groups. They divide you into groups.
Yeah.
I remember we were playing ultimate football like on the last days of this camp. I think it's like a 9-day camp or something. And Tom and Terry getting a fight. We're playing our group versus them. They get in a fight. It was fun. But it's like such a small, like you look back and I've forgotten about that. But
I was 94. I was there. I would have been probably. You know what? Shoot, I might have been there for that because I know I was either Tom's assistant or Troy Steiner's assistant. Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Yeah. So I was. That was the first camp I went to outside of here at Appalachian State. Went to that intensive camp, and my coach actually went with me, and wrestled. And it was a tough training camp.
Yeah.
We did the stairs in Carver, I remember, and there was actually a lot of good wrestlers that were in that intensive camp that ended up being successful in their later. Like, I think one of my workout partner there, I think, was Chad Erickson, who was an All-American, I think, at Minnesota.
Do you remember Josh Holliday? He was an All-American from Minnesota. He ended up being a bigger guy. He was in my camp group for like 2 years in a row.
Really?
Yeah, but it was a little dude. He's like 110-pounder. All of a sudden, he's wrestling. I'm at nationals. I'm like, wait a second. That kid was in my camp group.
Right.
Like, dude, he's 80, like an 84-pounder now. I'm
Sure.
like, Jesus. And then fast forward, I was recruiting one of his kids when I was at Cal Poly.
Right.
So but but that was back then. There was a lot of good kids at the camp.
Yeah, it was the camp. It was the camp, and
yeah.
And then I went to the next summer, my sophomore year. I won another state title, and then I do get on the cadet team, and I go to Fargo, or it wasn't Fargo at then. I think cadets at that time was in Lincoln.
Okay.
Was at the University of Nebraska. They were separated.
Yep.
And so I wrestled at cadets that summer. I took 4th in freestyle. They made me wrestle Greco as well, and I didn't, I did not have any Greco. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I ended up placing 4th in freestyle, and then I kind of started hitting more of the national circuit, and there was a tournament. I think it still is going on, but it was a pretty tough high school off-season tournament. The Tournament of Champions in Ohio.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good
That's real
tournament
tough, yeah.
back then. So I wrestled in that a couple of times, and wrestled in Fargo and AAU folk style nationals, and started hitting more of those national events.
Right. And was that the kind of, I mean, when you're, like I said, when you were started going to these, I guess on the front end, they probably, they didn't really know you a whole lot just being from North Carolina. But then when you started placing and making a little bit of recognition, and then it started, I shouldn't say it easier, but they started recognizing you.
Absolutely, yeah. That wasn't flying under the radar anymore.
Yep.
For sure.
It's interesting how, like, on that national level, because a lot of my parents still ask, when their kids should go to national tournaments and stuff like that. And I've always related it like this. It's almost like the national level is like a little clique. You got to get it in the clique. You've got to know, like all the best kids in the country, they need to at least know your name when it's on the bracket. And if they don't know your name, then you need to keep working and you keep going until they recognize your name. They so I've got Tommy in the quarters, and I've got so and so here. They got so and so there. If they recognize your name in the bracket, okay, now you're getting there. Okay, then you can start knocking them off. But before that, they don't know you. I mean,
sure.
I don't know, man. You ain't in the club yet,
right?
So, yeah. But you quickly got yourself in the club, and then you stayed in North Carolina. Went to North Carolina, started out there.
Yeah, and then and that was kind of right around the time TJ Jaworski had just graduated.
Yeah.
He was a 3-time NCAA champion. Obviously, I followed his career and was very. I studied the way he wrestled a lot, and he was a lefty lead, and his high crotch series, a lot of his hammerlock series on top. Like, I learned from him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he hit me with that lefty high C. I wrestled him in the Midlands. He hit me with the lefty high C and then put me in hammerlock and pinned me. Oh yeah. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up too. Yeah. But he was an animal.
He was, and he was one of the strongest pound for pound wrestlers I ever grabbed a hold of.
Oh,
he was so
good.
strong.
He was good.
And yeah, it's funny. He got inducted into the North Carolina Wrestling Hall of Fame last summer, and I took my son. He wrestled in a little tournament called the Southern Throne, and then I grabbed Luke, and we drove up and went to TJ's thing. And
cool.
He's met Luke now, and he's been following Luke a little bit online. He knows Luke's a lefty lead,
awesome.
and so it's cool. He send me text messages and stuff like that. So,
dude, I gotta sit down and have him in the podcast. That'd be fun.
It would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, because I met him a couple times, just whatever, through whatever wrestling. I met him at Fargo one year,
right?
And real good guy. Like I said, I remember I wrestled the first round at Midlands. I was like, this kid's good. This dude's good. He's really good. Yeah. He's really good. And I probably, I probably didn't give myself the best chance to win. I probably,
right.
Yeah, but that's the level I was at, and mentally.
Sure.
But no, that dude was so good. But talk about your North Carolina experience there. I mean, like I said, hometown boy. It's probably no brainer, huh? Going to North Carolina or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think
there's some other options as well. But
yeah, I was looking at a few other places. I took visits to. I think I visited. West Virginia, Edinburgh was starting to get pretty good under Coach Bumgardner. Virginia Tech, Coach Moreland was at Virginia Tech, and they were starting to get off the ground. But I think the whole thing I kind of knew that Carolina was probably where I was going to end up because I had so much respect and I'd followed TJ so much and really liked the way he wrestled and tried to mimic a lot of the things he did. So I kind of had the feeling that I would end up there. And then, it was my freshman year. I go in there, and I wasn't sure if I was going to redshirt or what. And I think I don't know. I think maybe in the preseason when I was working out some with TJ and them, I think they made the decision that he's ready to go and he's going to wrestle this year. And ended up having a pretty good freshman year, winning the ACCs my freshman year, and. It kind of, and actually my freshman year, I think I placed 4th at Midlands. Yeah. My true freshman year. And that was a tough tournament back in those days. It was really tough.
I mean, how tough are those, like the Midlands back then compared to and nothing against, the scuffle in the Midlands now, but you're comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, man.
So my freshman year at Midlands,
Yeah.
and we were at U23s a couple of weeks ago, and I pointed out to one of my assistants that Roger Chandler walks by, who's the coach at Michigan State, and I'm like, he gave me one of the worst butt whippings that I've ever had.
That dude was freaking tough.
When in college, and I was, I think it was in the semifinals. I make it to the semis. I upset 2 or 3 people. Got to the semis. Wrestled Chandler in the semis, and it's pretty close. Our first period, I think he had a hard time taking me down, but when he got on top of me, he just turned me like a top.
Really?
Like I had a grown man on my back. I didn't have any clue how to get out. Like he put it on me pretty good. That's probably the worst beat down I had in college.
Really?
Like he gave me a beat down, and I was a puppy. I was just a true freshman, and I'll never forget that. And then. So that's Midlands then. I mean, you had post-grads and most then, like all the top guys on the Team USA, a lot of them wrestled in the Midlands.
Yeah,
plus
they didn't have all these overseas opportunities.
And then like all the best teams wrestled at Midlands. It wasn't like now where a lot of the best teams kind of stay away from the best teams until the end.
Yep.
Then, I mean, everybody was at Midlands. It was a meat grinder of a tournament.
I remember like the post-college guys that used to enter there. It was just nuts.
Ridiculous.
Joe Williams won that thing like 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I mean, he just kept wrestling it. We were talking, it was Kerry Colat. I just blew the surprise. But yeah, it's on a podcast. I had him last week. We were talking about the old Midlands. And it was just the guys that used to wrestle in that.
Sure.
I mean, just that stick around and all the world teamers. And it was some of those brackets were insane. I mean, insanely good. So
for sure,
but that was those are good old days, and it's kind of strange how it goes now. I mean, because like I said, like you were saying, a lot of the good teams kind of avoid each other until a little bit later in the season, and I get it. I mean, a little bit, I think they kind of look at not wearing guys out that time of the year. I don't know, maybe giving them a break for Christmas. What do you think that kind of like is the?
I think that it's like, I don't know, it frustrates me because as a program like we are, like I'm always looking for those opportunities to go wrestle the best. And it's hard to find them because a lot of times the better teams they avoid tournament wrestling until Big Tens and NCAAs or whatever. But like it's hard to get them in a tournament. And when you wrestle them in a duel, what I've been frustrated with, not so much recently, but like if you wrestle those teams in duels, this is the drawback of it. A lot of times if you have a really good guy that could upset one of their good guys and they don't need him to win the duel, they'll just sit the kid and put a backup in. And so that's what I think is really hurting the sport of wrestling because you don't, like from a fan perspective, you're not seeing all the best guys wrestle each other until the very end.
I agree.
And I don't think we're helping ourselves as a sport by limiting matches and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, we wrestled 40, 45 matches a season, and now these guys they're keeping their match count under 20 or 25. I mean, I don't know. I know they've had a lot more miles previous to college than maybe we did, but I don't know. I think it's a very different time. Yeah. And just kind of the approach to some of the better programs, how they schedule and that kind of thing.
No, I agree. I mean, because like I said, I'm a straight up fan now. Like obviously got out of the D1 coaching world 5-6 years ago, whichever, and so now I'm just a straight up fan. And I see 2 teams, that are going to duel each other. I'm like, okay, here we go. We got a match here. Look at that match, and all of a sudden now you only see one of them.
That's what I mean.
5, and it's like, man, that sucks.
So like, just to your point, so just kind of my journey, like in high school, I watched wrestling to learn a lot. And now it's never been more easy. You can pull up anything on your phone and watch technique. Like there's no excuse for not having any technique. Right. Because it's so easy to get good at wrestling and learn skills now because the world's so small. But like when I was in high school, my parents ordered the Iowa Public Television duels. So I had that whole the dual series for like the 2 or 3 previous years. So I would watch Oklahoma State and Iowa State.
You mean the old VHS tapes?
The old VHS tapes. And I would put them in my VHS downstairs, ride the exercise bike or whatever. And I watched and learned a lot of wrestling just watching those matches over and over and over. But you never saw in those dual meets, all the best guys always wrestled the best guys. But now you'll see a highly anticipated dual meet that ends up being kind of a disappointment because 2 of the 3 ranked matchups, they don't even happen. They're like, we're not at 100%. We're going to sit this guy.
Yeah.
And I do think that's disappointing for fans and whatnot. So
no, I agree. But man, you brought up obviously nostalgia from me. Iowa Public Television, man. Some of those matches back in the day were so, man, it was, Iowa State matches, Iowa Oklahoma State matches. All those matches were just, God, they were so entertaining back then.
Yeah.
It was so entertaining. Yeah, because like I said, we grew up, me and my brother, obviously watching Iowa Public Television, and just some of those matchups. And we obviously go watch some live, and the old field house back in the day was awesome. Then it was Carver Hawk Arena when that started. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Yeah. So it was a little bit different times. So. Yep. But when you were at North Carolina, you ended up you spent your last year at Oklahoma State.
I did.
Yeah. What was the purpose behind that decision? Just
TJ ended up. There was like a coaching change, and I don't know. I think at the time I was probably a little, I was a little bit frustrated with my. I hadn't accomplished what I wanted to accomplish yet. I wanted to be an All-American, and I felt like I was really close, but I kind of felt like I wasn't progressing. I didn't have the, and there was different reasons, and a lot of that's on me, but, I kind of just felt at the time I had a close roommate, Skylar Holman, who's no longer, he passed away several years ago, but we were really, really close. He ends up leaving, transferring to Oklahoma State my junior year, and him and I were like brothers. We were really close. And then TJ ends up leaving, and it just seemed like I could finish my undergraduate degree. So I finished my undergraduate degree, and then Skylar's like, "Hey, why don't you come out to Oklahoma State?" And and that didn't end up kind of the way that I thought it. I thought it would have. I mean, I kind of had some injuries and some things that, just didn't, just wasn't in the cards for me. And so I kind of look back sometimes on my competitive journey and kind of wish that, like, I kind of, I wished I could have, got it done. And there's some things like that. But I also think there's things about my journey that have probably made me a better coach, like trying to make sure my athletes are getting the most and understand the most that I can give them and helping them in their journey. Because there's things that I wish that I instill in my athletes that I wish someone would instill in me.
Yeah.
And what it takes to be successful is not exactly what you think as a high school wrestler coming out. You know. And so I had a good opportunity. I mean, I had a good career at North Carolina. Won 3 ACC titles. Redshirted in 2000 and trained with TJ when he was trying to make an Olympic run. Yep. And then it just, my career didn't quite end the way I wanted it to. And then I wrestled a little bit of freestyle when I came back and was an assistant for TJ at Davidson.
That's right.
And I wrestled a little bit internationally for that 1 year. Wrestled for the NYAC. Wrestled in the U.S. Open, and that kind of ended my competitive career. Because back then, there just wasn't enough money in the sport to keep wrestling. If you weren't the top guy or those top couple guys, you just couldn't make a living and still train and stuff. Like now, these guys that are 7, 8 deep are making full salaries and making a good living to still continue training. And that wasn't an opportunity that was available.
No.
And
there was, the money that the guys were sticking around the clubs back then was barely enough to pay for living expenses.
Yeah, it was a much different time. Like, you had to be an assistant coach at a reputable program to have enough money to continue training.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be why the U.S. is doing so much better at freestyle now, is guys are focusing on freestyle solely, and they're not having to spend time focusing on coaching college athletes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the money the thing is definitely, it's so much different, and these guys are making a living, just out competing, and you're getting guys that the longevity's there. They're continuing to do it because they continue to afford to do it. And plus, that's all, like you said, all they're doing is focusing on freestyle wrestling and just getting better than the international level. It's awesome. It's awesome to see just because where we're at. I mean, look at our world team that just got decided. We got guys that have been in the sport for a long time, and man, it's just it's a cool thing to see for sure. Yeah. So then you transition into coaching. Did you always know you're going to coach?
Not really. No? I kind of just fell into, like, TJ called me up and he's like, hey, we're going to hire our first assistant at Davidson College. I'd like for you to come consider it. And I was making peanuts. Like, I didn't really make a whole lot of money that first year when I was coaching. I I mean, I was living in poverty basically. But TJ talked me into coming to Davidson. I was their first assistant, did that for a year. And I kind of felt like it was something I was good at, like relating to athletes. And, I think if there's anything that I think maybe I think I can relate to my athletes in a way, even if they're much different than I am or very different experiences, different styles. Like I feel like I can dig in and kind of digest what an athlete needs, and it might be different than another athlete. It's not just all a cookie cutter thing. And I felt like I was pretty good at that. Like, and I had good relationships with those kids that wrestled there at Davidson that year. I saw them get a lot better.
Yeah.
But financially, I just could not keep doing it. Like it was making barely enough to pay rent.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up, my buddy Tommy, come another circle. He's like, knew that I couldn't make it there. And he's like, well, what about coming back to Boone and coaching at the high school? He's like, I've got a friend of mine that they're looking for a coach, and he thinks he can get you in the spot and maybe get you a teaching position. And if I go entertain it, ends up working out, and I end up getting a teaching job at the high school, teaching history and coaching wrestling. And then we had a lot of success in the 3 years I was there. I think I coached 4 or 5 state champs. 3 of them wrestled Division I.
Wow.
And then I was Coach Mance recruited me. He's like, well, I want you to come be an assistant at App. And then that's how I ended up here at Appalachian State.
No kidding.
And so
how many years did you spend at the high school level?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. I had several state champs. We went. I had a sophomore national champ. I had a couple of All-Americans at the high school level, and then I had 3 D1 wrestlers. And Travis Coffey wrestled at Army West Point on that team. Sava Costas wrestled for me, and then Jacob Earp also wrestled for me here at App State.
Wow.
And they were all D1 wrestlers. So.
That you hit on it earlier of having appreciation of the high school coaches. I tell you what, because I did it for 10 years. I was a high school teacher, coach for 10 years. And I'm not sure if there's enough money on the face of this earth to go back to do that. As much as I love it. Sure. Listen, shout out to all the kids I had at Durant, Coral Glades, Dr. Crop, Martin County. I love you all, the 10 years that I did at high school level. I don't think I have that in me. It is so hard. People don't understand, like, just the amount of people that you have to deal with between administration, parents, kids, everything, just all that whole thing. You got to get yourself a little support staff. And then you're literally coaching it year round. Sure. And then on top of that, oh, yeah, that's right, you got to be a teacher because that's where the majority of your money's made.
That's where the majority of the money is.
It's just, it is such a grind. It is just, you are literally at it from like 7 a.m. to literally 7 p.m.
That's very different.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then in the off season as well, it's crazy. Yeah, when I went from the college level when I went to the high school to college level, I was like, dude, this is easy, and this ain't nothing.
Yeah, some of the best, like I'll stand by it. Some of the best coaches in the country are the high school coaches.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Totally agree. So when you got here to App, and this is where I really wanted to dig in because I'm telling you what, I've said this to numerous people. I think on all the Division I programs out there, and granted, there's great coaches, throughout, I mean, they're all great. I mean, and if you're a head coach of a Division I college, you're a great coach. There's no question about it. But as far as the Division I college, this has been for decades that I've been around the sport. You do as much with what you have at a program as anybody in the country. And I've said that multiple times. I think what you do here at Appalachian State, with, like I said, the amount of resources and as competitive as you make this program with all the big guys, I think that you're on par with anybody. There's no question about it with this program. What is it about, like, you and how you get your program ready to compete against all the Power Fives, let's just say?
Well, I think that, one of the things that we've got going for us here is we got a great culture. And I think that no matter now versus 2012 when I had Trotman and Blevins, I do believe we have a wrestling culture and a program that our athletes come in and buy in and expect to win. And I think that's, probably, we are a little bit of a smaller program, but I don't think our coaching staff doesn't see ourselves that way, nor do our athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we feel like we should be competing with the big boys. And I think, like, that strong culture that get student athletes that are blue collar workman type men that want to come in here and buy into our culture and our program. And I think that, like, we do a pretty, I think a lot of work. We do a substantial amount of work in developing our guys and trying to find every possible thing that will help them be the best version of themselves. And, sometimes it's developing their technique more. Sometimes it's developing the mental aspect of the sport more. And every student athlete that we bring in, typically has a couple of characteristics in common. The guys that I recruit, number one, I think that they love wrestling. I think that they're tough, and I think they got an extreme work ethic. And if they're not if they don't have those three intangibles, a lot of times they're not on the top of my recruiting list, because I think I can do a lot with those three attributes if that's what they have in them. And then we can make them better wrestlers. We can teach them more skills. We can get them stronger in the weight room. We can help them with their nutrition. I can help them, learn more about the mental side of the sport and performance, the mental performance and all that kind of stuff. And I do think that, like, here at App, we really try to focus on developing and harnessing all of our student athletes, characteristics and little differences that they have that can make them successful.
Right.
Rather than just saying, hey, we're going to be really strong.
Right.
Like, no, I mean, some of our guys are really strong. Some of them are not so strong.
Right.
Like, each one of them need different strengths but they all kind of have that same belief system. And, we have 7 core beliefs in our program that, if you look at them in our locker room, like, it's kind of how we run this program and what we try to instill in our student athletes every day. And, one of our core beliefs is delayed gratification, believing that if I do the right things and I put the work in, sooner or later it's going to pay off.
Right.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And, I think our guys really buy into that. And I think if you asked anyone outside of our program, the things that I think you'll hear people say about us is that our guys are always in shape and they're always going to wrestle hard. And
100%.
those are two things that we try to instill in every athlete. We want to have that identity where they know we're tough and we're going to wrestle hard.
Yeah. I would add one more to that, just because obviously that's how we met.
Sure.
But you took over in 09, right? Is that 09?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, we met being competitors when I was at Chattanooga and Appalachian State. I would say the 100% those two right there is that, because that's one thing, you guys are always in shape and always wrestle hard. I would look at your program as buttoned up too. Buttoned up meaning that you could tell the organization that you have with your camps, it's no shocker to me, because I look at you guys as this the way that you guys carry yourself, your coaching staff carries yourself, the kids carry yourself, just the program in general carries itself. I see it's very, very buttoned up. All the loose ends are tied. You guys do, I think, everything you possibly can to put your guys in a position where they can be successful. That would be, I would 100% throw that in there. So, yeah, I mean, so you've been here at it from 09, we're in 26, man. You've been here for a minute.
I think I'm the longest tenured head coach here at App.
Wow.
Like, I think I've seen all the coaches come and go over the years. I was here during the Jerry Moore era.
Wow.
When they beat Michigan in football. And
really?
Yeah, I was here.
Oh, that's right. You were
here. So I've been here a long time, and it feels weird because I don't feel like I'm that old, but I'm the oldest or the longest head coach here.
Wow.
And so I've seen a lot of changes in the athletics department. I've seen a lot of changes in the university. When I first came here, there was about 14,000 students, and now we're over 20,000. So
wow, really
big changes on this campus for sure.
Dang. I mean, that's a lot of SoCon titles, a lot of everything since you've been here. I mean, tons of success. You mentioned Blevins and Trotman, and that's when I was at Chattanooga. And man, oh man, I remember something. I mean, we used to have some battles back in the day with us. I mean, it's that, because I'm not even going to get into like who y'all's biggest rival is, because I know that I know how that is. But what you talk about, some fun dual meets and conference tournaments back in the day, especially when I was coaching with Heath, and man, oh man. But those days when you had Trotman and like you said, in Blevins, those two dudes were tough.
They really were.
But those guys were all, well, Blevins is Oklahoma kid, right?
It's Oklahoma.
Okay, but Trotman's North Carolina kid. And that's one of the things that I've really noticed that you've done such an amazing job is you're like really good at finding the local North Carolina talent, which isn't, let's call it what it is. It's not a traditional state. It's just not. And then your neighbor, another non-traditional state, Tennessee, you're finding good kids out there, finding good kids there. What is it about finding these kids that are like from non-traditional states that maybe kind of flying under the radar? How do you get some of these kids and get them to where you can put them in a position to develop them?
Well, I think to your point, we were talking about it earlier. I think it's relationships. I ended up with Kyle Blevins because of Skylar Holman.
Oh, really?
So Skylar at the time was working in Sapulpa.
That Blevins was tough, dude.
He was super tough.
He's so good.
And Skylar is living in Sapulpa. We're talking. He's like, hey, there's a kid here at the high school. I think he's like going to be a 3-time state champ, and he's like all-state quarterback in football, and he's like all-state in golf. And you should look at this kid. And I'm like, okay. Well, at that time, we were wrestling in the Lone Star Duels, which were in Dallas. I don't know if you remember that.
I 100% remember that.
And it had a big high school division. There was high school teams from all over the country. And then they had a collegiate division that had like 7 or 8 teams in it. And for whatever reason, we were wrestling in it at the time. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened Skylar was going to drive down and see me because it was not that far from Oklahoma. And when we were in town, Sapulpa happened to be there, and he's like, hey, let's go watch this kid wrestle. I think, and so I ended up going over to the high school divisions and watching Kyle wrestle. He wrestles, I think at the time it was Dallas. I'm trying to think. Bishop Lynch was a good team out of Dallas at that time.
That's when Kenny Monday and Kendall were all down there. Had those guys going through Bishop Lynch.
And so he wrestles some kid from Bishop Lynch and actually loses. Did not wrestle a great match, but he was very, you could tell he had some things that made him special, and he was a competitor. And so long story short, I start calling him, recruiting him. He comes out on a visit, and Kyle's very different. Mm-hmm. He marches to the beat of his own drum, and he's not going to be swayed one way or the other. He's not going to just go with the crowd. He's just his own person. And he comes out on a visit. I think him and I went and played golf or something. He was a golfer, and he seemed to really hit it off here and loved it, and his parents loved it, and just ended up being a great fit. I mean, he was he was tough. He was very, very tough. Him and I had some battles because that was back in the day when I would run practice and blow a whistle and wrestle at the same time. I was doing it all. And I wrestled those guys all the time. And I remember we would get in some, because you remember how he was a great scrambler. He could scramble.
Yes, he could.
Back before the neutral danger thing, he was he would pass your ankle from anywhere.
Yep.
And him and I would get into these scrambles that would go on for 45 seconds to a minute and both be exhausted, and we'd get through it, and I'd end up taking him down. He would get so mad. He would throw his headgear. I mean, he was very temperamental, but he was a competitor, man. He could compete.
Yeah.
Trotman was another one that was he was an animal.
Yeah. Where'd you find him? He's a North Carolina
He's from
kid.
Winston-Salem, and his high school coach, Jason Hooker, actually wrestled at App State.
Okay.
And so he was coming to camp. We knew who he was. And I think what sold him is I had a really good conversation with his dad. And his dad was very influential in his life, and kind of told him about what my goals were for him and what we were going to do for him here at Appalachian State, and convinced him and his dad that this is the place for him. And, he ended up coming here and he splashed onto the scene, started winning at a national level, qualified for the national tournament. I think he qualified his freshman year, and ended up taking third in the country for us his senior year. And it was just a great journey, and having both those All-Americans that, that was my first kind of getting over the hump. Because when I first came into the conference, App had a really good tradition, but Chattanooga had beaten App consistently for, I don't know, it'd been a long time since and I think in 2012, that was the first year we'd beaten Chattanooga in a duel in 10 years. Yeah. And so that was a big deal. We ended up winning that duel and that team, and that kind of started turning the table where we started, we had 2 All-Americans, and then I could actually go to recruits and be like, hey, you can get it done here at Appalachian State. Here's the proof. Right. Instead of just saying, hey, we're gonna be good, and if you'll just buy in, I think we can make you good. I had some proof behind it. And so that was a big deal. The first time I kind of got over the hump and had some All-Americans and guys that were bought into the program and developed and did a great job for us. And actually, the funny thing is that Kyle's the only All-American I've had that's not a North Carolina native. Actually, 3 of the 4 were North Carolina natives.
Really?
Yeah.
You get
Denzel Desjardins,
yep.
and then John Milner.
Yeah.
They're all him, Trotman, and Blevins are all North Carolina natives.
Well, so now John, he that dude was, because I coached against him too as well. I mean, he's
hard to coach against.
He's so hard. I mean, even like Blevins was too. I mean, just because obviously Brandon Wright was the one that we figured it out a little bit at the SoCon, but I was like, man, I mean, not saying we got lucky. Being lucky, Brandon wrestled a really strategic match. Is a lot of strategy to wrestling Blevins. Staying out of the scrambles, that type of stuff. John, man, he's tough to coach against.
I mean, if you've never wrestled him, it's the strangest thing you've ever and so.
Because we had a good kid too, Tanner Smith.
Oh yeah,
Tanner's freaking really good.
Yeah,
we're trying to figure it out, and he just he's good.
Yeah, John. I mean, he was special too. I mean, and him and I are so close now. I mean, it's funny, full circle. Like, he comes in our room. I actually coached him this year at the U.S. Open. He wanted to go wrestle at the U.S. Open, and he asked me to come coach him. So I go coach him, and he actually is coaching at Dark Horse Wrestling Club in Charlotte, where my son, I take him to on Tuesday nights. So he coaches my son some, and so it's great. I mean, but I probably talk to John at least once a week. He'll call me or I'll call him, and we've just got a great relationship. And John was not a big time recruit. I think he was a one-time North Carolina State champ. I think he lost a couple matches his senior year in North Carolina, but I saw him at the state tournament, and there was something about him I liked. And I'm like, man, I like this kid. Get him up on a visit. And I don't know, I didn't think he was very good at wrestling, but it was just something. He had like this, he was charismatic, and he had an infectious personality that you wanted to be around, right? And that's the reason why I recruited him, because I just liked him. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, there's something about this kid I really liked. And at the time, my assistant coach, Josh Rosa, we joke about this all the time. He's like, why are you recruiting that kid? That kid sucks. And John and Josh will actually be working the next team camp, and that always comes up about how Josh tried to get me not to recruit John. And but there's just something about him I liked, and we've had a great relationship. And his senior year, he probably would have been a 3-time All-American, and he gets the knee infection, and I spent like 8 straight days in hospital with him, and I joke about it because I gave John a sponge bath at one time. He's like, we've had a lot of, because I had to go in for a surgery last year, and he comes by the hospital and he starts reminiscing. He's like, don't get to the point where I have to do a sponge bath. But
there you go, recruits. Hey, listen, if there's any questions on how this staff bends over backwards to make sure you're taken care of, there you go. The answers are right there.
Yeah, I mean, I was worried. I mean, John was really sick. I mean, it was after the third day, I wasn't even worried about him wrestling at the NCAA tournament anymore. I was worried about him surviving. I mean, that's how bad it was.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah, he lost. I mean, he probably weighed, when he got out of the hospital, he was a 49-pounder. I bet he weighed 130 something.
Oh my goodness, really?
He looked like a skeleton. He was so sick, and I was worried. I mean, there was times I didn't think he was going to make it. Like, he was so sick.
Oh wow.
And that puts life into perspective a little bit, and there's a lot of those things that, memories that I'll like, he's a special one to me, always will be. And, you have memories like that where you're like, that's why you do this, you know, you make a difference in people's lives. And, I think he takes an invested interest in this program and giving back everything he can, and telling people about his experience here and encouraging the good kids to come here. And we actually have a good freshman coming in, Bentley Sly, who's probably the best. He was #1 ranked kid coming out of North Carolina last year, nationally ranked. He placed at all the tournaments, Super 32, everything. And John coached him, and I think that was one of the reasons why we got him, was because of John was like, hey, this is where you need to be. This place will take care of you. These coaches care about you. They're developing you, and they're going to make you a better man, not just a better wrestler. And, so I appreciate that. And just, I mean, it's just about relationships. Like we're talking about. It's about relationships. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We talk about the developmental side, obviously, navigating the current landscape is, I'm sure difficult, especially as a mid-major. I look at it back when I was, like I said, because I was never at a big school. I mean, I was Chattanooga at Cal Poly, so 2 mid-majors, and just I just put myself in those shoes, and if I were still at those programs, just trying to navigate this whole NIL transfer portal area, I mean, what do you think? Like, I mean, what's y'all's mentality like moving forward, and just I guess putting your head down and grinding as a staff, and just knowing, you know, kind of how it works out there these days?
Yeah, so I think my philosophy is, people ask me this question all the time. They're like, "Hey, how's the transfer portal? Is it helping you?" I don't think it's helping me.
No.
I mean, because the reality is, the transfers that could help me like right away, they have way more money. They are asking for more money than I could give them. And if they're unproven, I can't, it's hard for me to bring a kid in because they were good in high school and give them more money than I've got one of my conference champs in or national qualifiers. I think that's how you kind of disrupt cultures, and you get team, you break up team unity and that kind of thing. But so the guys that it could help us, they're just, I just don't have the money to get them. And the guys that I could get, you know, a lot of times, you know, I don't know. There's a few here and there. We've sprinkled a few in, but it's like I don't think the transfer portal is something that I can rely on. You know, my philosophy is to recruit well at the high school level, find the best prospects I can that fit our program, fit our identity, bring them in, still do what we've been doing, develop them, and try to set it up to where I can retain them. That's my biggest goal.
Right.
And, you know, we're raising a little bit of money for NIL. It's nothing compared to some of the big schools, but at least we want to say, hey, we are doing something for you. And if it's all about money, we'll probably end up losing them anyway. But you hope it's more than just about money, that the relationship matters as well.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult because you see, you know, these smaller programs do a really good job developing this guy, gave him an opportunity, and then all of a sudden, you know, somebody calls from a bigger school, and I don't know. There's a lot of things about it I don't love, and it's just a completely different job than what I did 5 years ago.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because that would be, I would think that would be the biggest challenge, is almost re-recruiting your kids every year. I mean, I know it was I can't remember who I was talking to, but man, it's going to bother me. Another mid-major college coach. And he's like, yeah, it's crazy because now the discussion, like normally when you're done at nationals, you got like 2 weeks off. And you're like, listen, I don't even want to see these kids. They don't want to see me. We just had to take 2 weeks off and just whatever. He said, now we're literally on the bus or the plane ride back from nationals, having to sit down and talk to them and have that conversation that in the past probably wasn't going to happen for 3 months. But now it's like we have to be right on them because we know that, you know, listen, they just had a good national tournament, and shoot, somebody's going to be on them. Somebody's going to be having that conversation with them. So we got to beat them to the punch. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah,
for sure.
I bet. Moving forward, as far as App State wrestling, what's the? I mean, you got the current standards, you get the current visions. What's moving forward? What's the vision moving forward?
Well, I think like right now, you know, I'm kind of looking at kind of what's the next steps. Like, because I mean, we've been top 25 in the country, you know, pretty consistently, you know. But I'd love to have a top 10 team, and that takes a little bit more. You know, we got to have multiple All-Americans. And I would like to coach the first national champion that's ever been. We've had every place at App State except for first. Like as individuals, we've had a second, we've had third, fourth, fifth, everything, but we've never had a champ. And I would like to coach our first national champ.
That'd be awesome.
And you know, that's going to require making sure the things I just talked about, recruiting well, developing well, all that kind of stuff, developing, getting more talent. You know, and I think we are starting to land more talent because I think our name is a household name nationally now. People know that, hey, like App State does a good job developing. You're going to get better if you go there. And so some of the higher level recruits now are starting to actually give us a real consideration. Whereas, you know, 15 years ago, you know, I was not getting a lot of consideration from some of the top recruits in the country. But then, you know, trying to add to our workout partners, looking to maybe add to our RTC, maybe some training partners for our guys, and some things like that will help make sure that our best guys, number one, they're being taken care of, but number two, like you got people that can develop you, but also you got good training partners, you know, and then wrestling a schedule where they're going to see the best guys in the country and they're going to get battle tested before the national tournament. And that's the goal, to keep doing that. And it's a tough business right now. It's harder than it ever has been. Really? But, you know, we're going to keep doing what we do and try to be the best at it we can be. And I still think relationships matter.
Yeah.
We're going to keep trying to focus on that.
No, absolutely. You mentioned the scheduling because, and you mentioned this at the beginning of the conversation, as far as always wanting to find like the tough. I mean, all the tough, finding the competition and getting after it. I guess because I coached at the SoCon for a longest time, and nothing against the conference. I mean, I think it's a great conference, and some quality wrestlers in there. But on the national landscape of it, it's probably it's got to get a little bit better consistently. Do you find that as a need where you have to go out and it makes it even more of a need just because considering, because at the end of the day when it comes to the allocations, you guys aren't going to get. I mean, SoCon's not going to get allocations. Just it is what it is. Is it you need to go out and find those so you guys could go earn your allocations throughout the year?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that's the way the system is set up. If we go and seek out the competition and our guys win the matches they should win and don't lose the matches that they shouldn't. Then we can theoretically, I can qualify all my guys that are worthy to be at the national tournament, and that's the goal every year. But not even more than that is just like my best guys, like the ones that could be an All-American or potentially be a national champion. I want them to have wrestled the best guys so they know what level they got to be at by the time March rolls around. So it's not a shock, where they're kind of thinking that they're at one level and then they feel another level. Like, I think putting them in those environments as much as possible with that level of competition as much as possible to help prepare them. And I think that's like for Austin Trotman, for example, him and Kyle Blevins both, but like Austin, he lost the guy he beat in the quarterfinals, the number one seed at the NCAA tournament. He had actually lost to by major decision 3 months earlier at the Reno Tournament of Champions.
Oh, wow.
So he had seen that guy, made some adjustments, was able to raise his level, and then has a great national tournament. So, and that's what we try to do. We try to make sure our guys get, we don't want them to be in shock when they get to the national tournament. Like, hey, I'm used to wrestling this level.
Right, right. One of the things that I've also, been noticed about your program and what you guys do is your fan base is you spoke about relationships already. I mean, you guys got a great fan base. I mean, you really do. And I haven't been to an App State match yet. I've been wanting to come, especially against the bigger like the North Carolina ones and the North Carolina, those big type of matches. Has that always been there, or is that something you had to keep cultivating those type of relationships to get it?
Yeah, we did not have a great fan base when I first came to App. I remember that a year before I came to App, I actually came and watched the dual meet, and there might have been 50 people in the stands.
Really?
It was very small. And they struggled that year. They weren't very good, which doesn't help. But, it was – but then over the years, as we've had more success, but it's not just about the success. It's about building those relationships and maybe, grassroots efforts. We run a youth program every winter out of our wrestling room that our volunteer assistant does. And so that's, 30 to 40 kids in the high country that now have been exposed to the sport of wrestling. They have become fans of our wrestlers because our wrestlers help with the practices, a couple of practices throughout the season. And then their parents start becoming fans. And so that's kind of how just efforts like that is how we've grown this fan base to where now, it's pretty common, especially if it's a big match, we'll have between 12 and 1,500 people and varsity gym will be packed. I mean, we had to get a new set of bleachers 2 years ago. So we actually have 3 sets of bleachers now.
Really?
Just to fit all the people in because there was no room. And then we got a video board. Our dual meet experience is awesome. Like,
really?
Mike, I encourage you. I know you haven't been here since the days when you're at Chat, but like, you got to come out for one of our big dual meets. Like, the atmosphere is as good as it gets. Like, it is really intense. It's hostile. Our fans are rowdy.
I do remember.
They are knowledgeable.
That I do remember.
They're knowledgeable and they're passionate.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I'm very proud of is building our fan base.
Yeah, well, they would even come like in full. They've been pretty good strength to Chattanooga.
Sure.
I mean, and that because that gets rowdy.
Chippy,
I'm telling you, I mean, that's the thing that people is funny because Royce Alger always said that. He said this to me one time about our Iowa wrestling room. He's like, I sit back and I watch because he was watching back as a coach at the time. He goes, you can watch Brands and McElravy go at it. That's, that's great scrapping. He said, but it's all these other little battles between, like, you watch like the two JV kids wrestling. They probably talking about me, wrestling and scrapping over here, and it's just all the little battles in the, in the room. That's really interesting too. And I look at that like when we used to battle, at Chattanooga, and still, still pretty heated rivalry. Sure. But on the grand, like, big scheme of things, everybody's like, the Iowa, Ohio State matches, the Penn State this match, and everything. But you still got these little, like, Chattanooga App State matches and all the, and back when Campbell had a good squad, and that was when that's just really, really great. It's awesome. As far as like from a wrestling perspective, it's just good seeing that.
And I think it's important for our university too. I mean,
absolutely.
Our chancellor, our current chancellor, Heather Norris, she's been to at least 2 or 3 dual meets now since she's been the chancellor, and she's awesome. I couldn't thank her enough for the support she's shown, but she's come to our matches, and she actually is educating her husband, because I guess he doesn't know as much about wrestling, so she's telling him about kind of what we're doing, and we've got some really influential people that really are very supportive of our program. Our athletics director, Doug Gillen, he's done a great job of kind of supporting me and asking me what my needs are and trying to help me meet them. And Governor Philip Byers, who's the chair of the board of governors, he's one of our biggest fans. You'll see him at all of our dual meets. His name's on the scoreboard. Mark Barker, that helped buy the scoreboard there in Varsity Gym and put the bleachers in. Like, we've got some really great fans and some great donors and supporters and key people at the university level that are really kind of making this place a special place. And I think that's important. That's the things that we have that can help us reach my goals of being a top 10 program, maybe having our first national champion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys had an incident a few years back.
A couple years.
Yeah, you need to rally a lot. I mean, you need a lot of rallying support. There's a Hurricane Helene. That was kind of a crazy time, huh?
Yeah, it was devastating. It living in the mountains of Western North Carolina, when you see hurricanes on the news, you're not really worried about it. You're thinking that's some far distant place. It's not going to affect me or my family. And the high country was hit so hard here in Boone and the surrounding areas with Hurricane Helene. It destroyed so many communities, so many lives lost. And here at App State, we didn't get near as much damage compared to some of the surrounding areas and families that lost loved ones and homes and entire communities wiped out and things like that. But it affected our wrestling program. There was 2 buildings on this campus that got major flood damage, and one of them was Varsity Gym and the other one was Rankin Science, those 2 buildings right there beside each other. And so I come in the day after the hurricane and I see there's water in the floor. I walked down to our locker room. I got my kids with me, and the locker room was completely flooded. We had to be gutted, renovated. And so that season, not this past season, but 2024, 25, that entire year we didn't have a locker room. For the first half of the season, we were practicing on the balcony, couldn't be in our wrestling room.
Wow.
And we didn't have a locker room, so it was like in the old days where you're like going to high school practice where you've got
gym
your
bag.
gym bag and you put your wrestling shoes on and walk on the mat and then go home to shower. We did that the entire year until February. And we finally got a locker room renovation. A great alumni donor here named Ed Small. He helped us fund that renovation of our locker room. Him and his wife, Faith. They've been very supportive fans, and they stepped up in a big way and helped us renovate our locker room. And so I can't thank them enough for that. But now we've got we had to go through a lot to get it, but our locker room's the best it's ever been. I would compare it to most locker rooms nationally, even of the big programs. We got an awesome locker room.
Really?
Absolutely. And I got to make sure you get down there and see it while you're here.
Check that out,
So, it's been there's some communities that never have recovered or built back in the high country. I mean, washing entire, landslides, mountains taking out homes. It was very, very devastating to this area. And, 2 years later, there's still impacts. I mean, so just to your point, next week we have another team camp, but actually my next team camp won't even be in Varsity Gym because they're finally ripping up all the flooring in Varsity Gym and redoing the gym floor. from where
Really?
the flooding and all the flooding damage and all that kind of stuff. So, 2 years later, we're still dealing with some of the impacts of Hurricane Helene. So we'll be without our wrestling room probably until November. We'll be practicing on a balcony in varsity gym. So next week we got to have all our mats out of the wrestling room, put up on the balcony, all of our equipment, treadmills, everything. And then our last set of team camps has to be, we got to move all the mats to the Quinn Center and to UREC. And so we'll have 2 facilities going for that last team camp.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how
Yeah.
big of an impact that Hurricane Helene has had on this area and this university.
Yeah, because I remember that. I was like, hurricane. And I've been to Boone. I've been doing. How was it? Hurricane can't hit that.
Yeah.
I guess I was wrong.
Boone is in like a, kind of the valley here between the mountains. So, all the water's coming off the mountains, flooding right into the valley.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's just. How I perceive this program. You guys will roll up a sleeve type of program, and you get to work and. Just whatever. We'll make it work. You guys.
Our guys did not use that as an excuse that year. We still expected and competed to win a conference championship.
Yeah.
We had a lot of hard things we had to go through that year, but sometimes that stuff makes you more resilient.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's just good coaching. You got a whole new coaching role now, though. You got a youngster coming through now.
That's right. Very different. It's a different dynamic.
I bet. That's how I wanted to get into this, probably to wrap it up after this. But I know that we'll probably spend a little time here. But. Yes, you got a youngster. I remember I worked with him the first time a couple of years ago. He's scrappy, he's kind of seemed like he, kind of liked wrestling a little bit, but now he's gotten to the point where he's getting pretty good and starting to make it his own now.
Yeah, he's put a lot of time into the sport, and obviously it's been a great journey for me getting to spend time with him and what I do and the things I can help him with. There's a lot of things in life I might not be able to help him, but this is one thing I can help him with. And it's been great seeing him grow and mature and making me grow as a parent and as a coach, and trying to navigate the emotions and the balance between coach and dad is very different, and it's been a delicate balance that I'm trying to figure out. And I don't know, he does love it, and he makes it easy because he does work extremely hard. He works extremely hard, likes the sport of wrestling. He's very much a student. Like he's going to go to your session, he's going to pick up something. He'll go to, some of the other coaches and pick up things. And he's growing. He's growing a ton. And I think the sport, like I said this and I still stand by it. Of course, the competitor in me always wants him to be good. Yeah. But I said right from the very start, I want him to wrestle. I want Luke to be a wrestler, no matter if he's very good or not. Yeah. Because the life lessons you learn through the sport, there's no sport out there or anything that I know of comparable to the life lessons you learn through the sport of wrestling. And I still stand by that. And so, he's learning a lot of life lessons, but he's enjoying wrestling, and I think he's getting okay. I don't know if I'd say he's good yet, but he's getting better, and he's put a lot of time into the sport this off season, and he's had some success, and he's had some ups and some downs and some disappointments, but hey, that's part of life, and that's this sport. It does not discriminate. It doesn't care who your dad is. It does not care. It will break you down, and it doesn't matter.
How do you deal with him? I know that we were talking earlier as far as like when he's done wrestling a match. You got a really unique, method of dealing with him after matches.
Yeah, so I guess it's been this last year has really been the first year where he's kind of really been competing on a more of a national stage, and he's traveled a lot more and wrestled a lot more matches. Until that point, he trained some, but it wasn't really that competitive. He wasn't going and seeking out a lot of competition, but he has this spring. And so over the last couple of years, just trying to figure out that balance of okay, I do train him a lot. I handle a lot of his workouts, and I teach him a lot of wrestling, and I put him through workouts, him and his buddy Clayton. But when I'm in the corner, and even though I'm coach, I'm also his dad. And I see all these examples of these dads out there losing their minds, and they're driving their kid away from the sport and ruining their relationship. And then I experienced him having some successes and some failures while I'm sitting in the corner, and the emotions of all that. And so I kind of was trying to figure out, how do I balance this? Because what he's getting out of this is so much bigger than the wins or losses.
Yeah.
And so I think, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but what I've the philosophy I've taken with Luke is when he wrestles a match, I try to handle it the same no matter what. If I'm in his corner or not in his corner. And sometimes I'm not in his corner. Like at this camp, I'll never stand in his corner. I'm kind of off in the distance. But when he goes to Virginia Beach or to Southeast Regionals or wherever, like a lot of times I'll be in his corner coaching him. When he gets done wrestling, whether he wins or loses, and he's had some losses, I'll throw him his shirt and I walk away. I don't say good, bad, ugly, whatever. I let him have about 20 minutes to digest it himself. Even if he wins, I don't say anything to him because I don't want it to be different. I don't want him to think that my reaction is different depending on whether he wins or loses. So I don't really say anything to him. I'll throw him his, he always throws me his shirt or his warm up, whatever he's warming up in, and he'll throw it to me before he goes out on the mat. And when he comes off the mat, I throw it to him and I walk off and give him about 20 minutes to digest it. And I think it's been good because I've noticed that after 20 minutes, my emotions come down and I think with a clearer head. And I probably say more of I give more constructive feedback and more usable feedback than if I just speak out of emotion right after he comes off the mat, win or lose. And then the other thing is, and I heard Jordan Burroughs talking about this on a podcast, or maybe I read something. I think I read it, that he was talking about his son and coaching. And the one thing that I read in his kind of philosophy was that a wrestler needs, as a competitor, that time after a match, they need some of that time themselves to digest the result and what happened themselves, rather than a coach just instantly telling them what they did wrong and like, hey, you did this, you got to fix this. Like giving them 20 minutes of nobody in their ear, like to maybe they think about like, hey, what went right? What went wrong?
Interesting.
How can I do better? And so I kind of think he's on to something there. So it plays into like me giving him a little bit of space. And I really just gave him space so I didn't act like one of these crazy dads. And then, it allows him some time to kind of digest it without me giving him any feedback. And I think it's hopefully going to help him grow, take some accountability for what he's doing, and then also have to figure out, okay, what do I got to do better? What do I got to do to fix this? Rather than getting immediate feedback from his dad or however he looks at me, dad or coach, as soon as he comes off the mat. But the main reason why I back off for those 20 minutes is just I need to let my emotions calm down. He needs to let his emotions calm down.
Because those emotions got to be a lot different than, this is your son. Is it that much? I don't have kids, so I'm always curious about this.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know. I get pretty emotionally invested in my athletes. Because I think it's very similar for me, just because I get more. I'm very invested in my athletes as well, even though they're not my son. But the biggest thing is, I think, is more from him, how he's going to receive it. Is he receiving the feedback from his dad or his coach? And sometimes those are two different things. If he's hearing it from dad, it might not be as receptive as if he's like, okay, he's coaching me right now.
Yeah. That's interesting because when I had Nate Carr on the podcast, he was talking, obviously, him and David's relationship, and he would always, when there'd be some sort of interaction, he would, okay, do you want dad or you want coach? Which one do you want? He said, if you want dad, then I'm going to tell you how great you are and everything. But if you want coach, you better get ready.
That's a good point.
And so, because there's going to be, some things you probably don't want to hear. So which one do you want? And so that's always been a real interesting point. And now you're kind of reinforcing that as far as just the conversation is just a lot different if if it's dad or if it's coach. How's he going to take it?
Sure.
So that's really interesting. Have you incorporated this quote unquote 20-minute rule with your App State athletes?
No, not necessarily. I think I'm probably better now than I was early in my coaching. To be honest with you, Mike, there's times when I look back at my coaching career and I think stuff I did and stuff I said, I'm like, that was just so poorly timed. I should have walked away, and some of my older athletes tell me that I'm soft now. They're like, oh, you're so soft on these guys. And I don't know if that's the case, but with time and age and experience, you learn that like there's right times to say things and wrong times to say things. And I probably am not, I don't give them a 20-minute rule, but I'm probably, there's a rare occasion when I can get very upset and I can't hold it and I just let it go right then. But for the most part, I try to be, I try to pick and choose when I say it and what I say.
Yeah.
Probably more so than I did 15 years ago.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Same way. I look back at some of it. I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? Seriously?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I do. So there's an apology right there for all you guys that got your butt chewed for in a stupid time and me saying stupid shit back in the day. There you go. I am apologizing over the internet right now across all Spotify, YouTube, Apple, whatever podcast platforms. There you go. There's my apology. No, I 100% get it.
But like on Tuesday nights, it's been really. I think the one thing I've enjoyed about coaching Luke and being able Luke getting into wrestling and his journey in wrestling is it's given me and him a lot of time together.
Yeah. And Tuesday nights, is there a commute?
Tuesday nights, I drive him to Charlotte, which is about a 2-hour drive. Yeah, it's 2 hours each way. So we have 2 hours in the car. I'll pick him up from school. I'll come back to the office, finish up a few things. And we practice, my team practices on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the mornings. So I'll have Tuesday evenings to take Luke to Charlotte. And we have a lot of time to talk, and sometimes we don't talk about wrestling, but just talk about whatever. And it's been great, the times. And then this year I've actually been able to travel with him a little bit to some of these tournaments, and we have the weekend together. And it's very different than when I go to travel volleyball weekends with my daughter. I will tell you that. Like Luke's a lot lower maintenance. He doesn't require a lot, but when I take Katie, when I travel with my daughter Katie, and I love her so much, she's a little more high maintenance, so it's a little different for being the volleyball dad.
You were warning me yesterday. We were all down on the floor. You're like, this one right here, she's got diarrhea of the mouth. She's just gonna keep talking and just whatever. Just take it in or don't take it in, whatever. You just tell me that. It's hilarious. It's like I said. It's always an interesting perspective, and I'm always curious about high level coaches that are coaching their sons and daughters, and it's always like I said, it's always very interesting to me.
And the main thing is like I want to, if he wants to be successful in this sport, I want to do everything I can to help him. Yeah. But I also, when it's all said and done, I want him to look back, like, man, those are some of the best times I ever had. When I'm dead and gone, I want him to look back and say, man, I really miss those times with my dad when he was coaching me and we were traveling. Yeah. And those are the things that I kind of, that's the most important of it all. Yeah. Not the wins, not the losses, but hopefully the memories that him and I have, which has been pretty neat to what I've done my whole life, coaching kids and helping them chase their goals. It's kind of neat being able to do it with your son. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's that special bond there. And it's been fun. And I'm sure I'll make some mistakes along the way, and hopefully I don't screw him up too bad. Yeah. So.
That's awesome. You mentioned looking back at it and looking back at your son's relationship when it comes to him wrestling. Looking back when you're all said and done with your coaching career and everything and what you've done here at App, I'm assuming you're probably gonna be a lifer here, because it seems to me like you love it here, and what you've built here is absolutely, just in my opinion, just amazing. You've done such a great job here. What do you want, looking back at like your time here at App, the people kind of look back and say this about JohnMark Bentley?
Well, I think I want him to say that, or I hope that they'll all say that even though his methods sometimes I didn't understand them, that guy really cared. He cared about his people. He cared about his athletes, and he left it better than he found it. And that's what I hope. I hope that whoever the next coach is here after me, I hope that I leave this program in a better situation than it was when I got here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's about relationships. I hope that everybody's like, man, like, and I have had that happen a lot. Athletes that maybe they left here and we were kind of a little bit like this and they'll come back 4 or 5 years later and say, Coach, I got a little bit of life under me now, man. I wish I would have listened to you. You were dead right about everything you said. And it's funny how now I'm having some of those guys come back and our relationships are getting close again. Yeah. And there's some that have just always been close, but I hope I made an impact on my athletes in a positive way, and and that's what they look back and remember that.
Yeah, love it. You mentioned earlier, and then we'll wrap it up after this. You mentioned earlier about when you had Blevins in the recruiting trip, and you guys played golf. Who won that one?
I don't even remember.
Because you're an avid golfer.
Yeah, and back then I was playing a lot more golf than I am now. But I don't know. He's a good golfer. I mean, it was probably pretty competitive. I can't remember exactly, but I mean, he was an all-state golfer.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was good. So I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I just remember in that round of golf, it snowed, it rained, it sleeted, and it was bright and sunny and warm, all in the same round of golf.
Really?
Yeah, that's April in Boone.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'll never forget. It was like had all 4 seasons in the same 18 holes. So
no kidding.
It was crazy.
Wow. Well, there you go, JohnMark Bentley. You're the man. Listen, this is one of the things, and I'll end on this. I mean, when people ask me why I started this podcast and everything, I just say we have so many cool people in the sport, and a lot of them are just they're friends of mine. So, and like you and I's friendship is really unique because obviously we started out as, I guess, competitors. But of course, I've been, the customer. I mean, you're one of my customers. I've been dealing with in the gear side. But we were just talking before this started. We've literally never had a chance to sit down for a couple hours and just chat just about whatever. Because you've been busy, I've been busy, and especially, not like we can sit down and start chatting in the middle of a camp group, here. But this has been a really great conversation. I knew it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think, Mike, with you, the thing that I would say is like everybody's always asked me, like, how did you get to know Mike? And I'm like, we were actually competitors. But even when we were competitors, I had a ton of respect for him. I thought he did a good job, and I think probably it was mutual.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we kind of had respect for each other as competitors. And then I'm like, I don't know. Now I buy camp gear from him. Like he works my camps, and just over the years, we've built a great relationship. But man, I mean, honestly, like you're one of the people that like I have like a relationship with, and that's why like I have. And there's gonna be people out here listening that they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. They'll call me and try to sell me or get me to buy camp gear off of them. And I'm like, man, relationships matter to me, and some loyalty matters. I bought camp gear from you for years now, and
I appreciate it.
I try to I'm the kind of person that, man, when I get a good relationship, that it's more than just about the transaction, the benefits, the money. So
well, that's awesome. Like I said, I'm so fortunate that we got a chance to coach against each other and build a relationship. And like I said, I'm fortunate I started this podcast because we literally probably would never had the opportunity to sit down and chat wrestling for a couple hours.
For sure.
So, man, I appreciate your time. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Been awesome.
I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. JohnMark Bentley, head coach, Appalachian State University. One of the best in the business, hands down. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.